Okay, good morning to everyone. My name is Annie, and I'm the Communication and Dissemination Leader of SEA2SEE project, and will be moderating the webinar. I see that Carlos Mazora, who is the coordinator of SEA2SEE, has also joined. Welcome today. I will give the floor to him to open the webinar. And unfortunately, he will have to leave after that because of an unexpected and some urgent event that is beyond his control. So, Carlos, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Annie. So many things are beyond our control, but we strive to gain some control with it. I think this has something to do with this webinar today. We are so grateful to have representatives from DG Mare, representatives from the sector to discuss about the new challenges that the new legal framework for seafood traceability is bringing to the sector. No doubt it's going to bring this development is going to bring very exciting opportunities, and it's going to bring better security, better traceability to the service of the European consumer and also to the European sector in general. But it also brings some real challenges to everyone, and I hope that during this hour and a half that we have together, we can get some questions also put forward from the industry to the regulators, and for them to carry back home and maybe have this feedback that is so necessary, and it's taking place in many fora, and this is one more fora that we want to put forward and facilitate from the cluster of traceability and trust that has collated some projects from the European Union: Watson Alliance, Theros, Q's, SEA2SEE, Fishery Trust, Titan, and Tilelix. So, without further ado, I leave you in the hands of Anna Christopher, and she will be chairing the whole session. And I'm looking forward to seeing the recording of this. So I hope you the best day, and the best possible day, and the best possible webinar. And please participate and have excellent exchange and feedback. Thank you very, very much. Annie, it's all yours.
Thank you, Carlos. So yes, this webinar is organized and brought to you by the EU Cluster for Food Traceability and Trust. We have voted for our name just until a week ago, and this is our new name. So we will also have our common LinkedIn page very soon, and hopefully you also follow that one. To move on, we look at this session today as an invaluable opportunity to explore what the new traceability requirements mean for the sector. And our intent, as Carlos said, was to give the mic to a diverse group of speakers, as seafood traceability should be more than just a compliance obligation. At least we at SEA2SEE understand it as a key driver for transparency, sustainability, and most of all, fair competition across the EU market. Because strengthening traceability systems means enhancing consumer trust, but also creating a level playing field for businesses operating within the seafood supply chain. So everyone's participation today is important. DG Mare is committed to working closely with the sector, and this webinar will therefore serve as a platform for dialogue, feedback, and exchange. Hearing the sector's concerns will help refine implementation strategies and timelines, ensuring that the transition is smooth, practical, and effective. So to help us navigate these topics today, We have an outstanding group of experts representing policymakers and industry leaders and academia. We'll open with Anne Goutrey-Le Goff, Policy Officer at DG Mare, who will guide us through the key upcoming changes and their expected implementation. Then Stefan Mayer, General Manager of the German Association of Fish Processing and Wholesale, will share practical insights on labeling and traceability challenges from the perspective of seafood processors. Then our own Gisela Costa, a PhD fellow at the University of Aveiro, will discuss the incentives and barriers for effective governance in seafood traceability. And finally, José Bento, an industry representative from small-scale fisheries, also business development lead of Sogima company in Portugal, will provide the sector's perspective, highlighting compliance and market adaptation challenges from the point of view of a fisherman. So we aim for a highly interactive session. Again, we encourage all of you to actively participate, ask questions, share your concerns, engage with our speakers, because your feedback is really essential to helping shape a regulatory framework that works for everyone. So with that, let's get started, and I will now hand it over to Anne, which will take us through traceability of seafood products in the EU, what changes in 2026 and 2029. So, Anne, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Annie. Thank you, and good morning to everybody. I'm very pleased to be there today to guide you through the new traceability rules of seafood product that you may be aware of already, because the legislation has been adopted December 2023 after 5 years of difficult negotiation, I will say. Including on the chapter on traceability. So if you can go to the next slide, please, Annie. Yes, so that's the main date from this revision. We started from the fishery control regulation, which maybe you know the number. It's 1224/2009. So that was then in place for more than I will say 10 years, and then we went through this process of 5 years, and we have a new regulation. So the regulation EU 2023/2842, which came into force on in January 2024. And but has a different date of application for different provision. For the one that we are interested today, the so-called traceability provision and the control of the supply chain, there are two major dates that are important to remember. The one that is coming very soon now, within a few months, the 10th January 2026, and then a later date, which is more also important. It will be important for the seafood traceability, is the 10th January 2029. So 3 years after. You can go to the next slide, please, Annie. So what was the aim of the regulation? Basically, the aim of the main objective of the revision was to cover all type of fishery and aquaculture product, because the old rules were somehow only covering fresh and frozen fishery and aquaculture product, with quite a lot of clear or unclear degradation for imported product, and there was no rules for so-called processed products. So the product that like canned tuna or canned sardine, or this product were not covered by the obligation on the traceability. So we have now a set of new rules that cover all the fishery and aquaculture products, so fresh, frozen, so the category 3, so it's the so-called tax combined nomenclature. So it's very specialized, but there are description of the different type of product, and we will have the chapter 15 also, and we will have also the algae, with an algae. And what is also very important is that the new rules on traceability will not only apply to so-called product of EU origin, but also to all imported product to the EU market. And you know that maybe that EU is really importing a lot of seafood product on its market, so more than 70% actually of the fishery and aquaculture product in the EU market are coming from outside the EU. So in 2026, what will change and what will apply? In 2026, the new rules on the composition of lot of fishery and aquaculture products, which are set in Article 56X, will apply, and there are some changes especially for the fresh and frozen product. We have different two type of derogation that has been agreed by the co-legislators. But what is the most important is that all fishery and aquaculture product, and that is kept from the past, are put in lot before they are being made available for the first time on the EU market. There are some rules in this article for the composition of Chapter 3 product, and as the rules for this fresh and frozen Chapter 3 product will apply on 10 January 2026, this rule will apply at that moment also. So, but my slide says that it was application by 2 years but the 2 years are now really reducing. We are at 9 months to the date of application. So it's really urgent to know what changed. You can go to the next slide, please. So what will also be applying in 2026 is all the rules in Article 58, which is the article on traceability of lot of fishery product, fishery aquaculture product. All the rules applying to Chapter 3 product will apply by that date. And that includes that operators must record and make available the traceability information in the digital way to the next operator in supply chain. So meaning that from your supplier, you need to have the minimum traceability information for fresh and frozen product in a digital way, and you should be able to transfer it to your clients in the digital way also. The rules for processed product and algae will still have to be developed and will apply, as I said before, only in 2029. Please go to the next slide. I have detail a little bit more here what is the minimum traceability that lots of fresh and frozen products will have to have, and the new aspect compared to the previous one are highlighted in yellow. So there is this important feature, which is the unique fishing trip identification number that will have to be available for EU fishing and catching vessels. So that will need to be made available on the lot. There are also clear requests, and that was coming have an alignment with the so-called CMO regulation, to have the fishing gear. We have also clearer in requirement for imported product with the link with the catch certificate, and also for aquaculture product, the obligation to have the number of the aquaculture production unit. What will be next? So in the very short term, so we are currently revising some detailed rules for application of the traceability legislation for fresh and frozen product, because we are targeting the date of January 2028. We are discussing with operator and stakeholder and consulting them, and also member state to get to the best additional rules without further complicating life of the operator. So having something that fit for purpose, and this is a challenge. We will discuss later on that, because of course we have a wide range of operator, even for this category on fresh and frozen seafood product. So from the very small to the very big, from some that have a very short supply chain, and others that have a very long supply chain. So in the medium term, we will also start a study on feasibility, traceability system and procedure for lots of prepare and preserve products, and with the aim to have this study finalized, I will say the last trimester of 2026, September 2026. We are going to start this study soon, and so we hope to have a good recommendation by 2026, to be able to draft the more detailed rules for traceability of processed seafood product before the application in 2029. And that's what I put in the last slide. So we need to set the by earlier than January 2029 detail minimum information for traceability of lot of seafood seafood processed product, and also algae, which is another story. Maybe some of you have experience on that, but algae is still I have to confess, very unclear area for the moment. We have very few information, and we hope that the study will also help us to see what member state and what operator have developed for the traceability of this type of seafood product. Please go to the last. To the next one. Yes, it's I mean, I think we don't need to go to that one. It's really to tell you that in 2029 it's really we aim for another category of product, and we have some work to do on that. And then finally, I put in timelines, the different step we have for having a very hopefully thorough traceability of seafood product in the EU by 2029. That was the last slide. I don't want to take more time. Thank you very much. I've been very quick, but I'm sure some of you have already are well aware of the rules, and then we can discuss the challenges, because we have also identified since the adoption of the legislation challenges ahead of us.
Okay, sorry, just one short question. Doris here. What do you meaning? Can you describe those FAP? What is it exactly?
Do you mean as an acronym?
Yes.
Yes, sorry, the acronym. I should have put the acronym. It's my fault. Acronym is fishery, F for fishery, A for aquaculture, and P for product. So it's fishery and aquaculture product.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry for that.
No problem. Thank you very much. I believe that this was really very useful information for all of us. Let's keep our questions that relate to the content for the end for the Q&A discussion. Of course, if there is something you do not understand on the slides, acronyms or abbreviations or something like that, go ahead and ask our presenters. Thank you, Anne. With that, we are moving on to Stefan's presentation. Which is labeling of seafood traceability information on processed fisheries products, practical experiences from the German market. The floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Annie, and hello and welcome to everyone. A special warm welcome and hello to Anne. Nice to meet you again, Anne. It's not been so long since the last time we met. It's a pleasure, and it's great to see the progress that's been made on the actual implementation of the fisheries control regulation. I'm very glad and happy to talk here a little bit, if I may say so, maybe beyond the scope of the application of the fisheries control regulation, because in the next slides, I would like to take you first a little bit deeper into the German seafood market and also into the perspective of how we in the German market have been using traceability information in the supply chains from our imports and from our production facilities towards the final consumers. And I'm only going to be talking about the labeling and the front of pack information that we provide for processed products. So specifically, just to make that very clear, I'm talking about the kind of products that are not falling under the deadline of January 2026 of the control regulation, but on the later deadline. So these products I'm talking about are going to be falling, need to fulfill the fisheries control regulation traceability requirements by 2029. As of on the first slide, just a few very short key figures for the seafood market in Europe. I'm sorry, I have to get a little bit closer because my screen is really, really tiny. So a little bit more than 12 million tons of seafood products are handled and moving around in the European market. That means on average, European citizens consume in the year 23 around 23 kilograms of these products. That's expressed in live weight of products. So you're not eating 23 kilograms of fish fillet, but you are consuming a live catch and live weight equivalent of around 23 kilograms. And as Anne already said, we do have quite a high import dependency. And when one actually corrects for the exports and only food grade fish products, we are basically down to 83% import dependency of the European market. So that's not new. This is nothing that's happened overnight. This is historically and quite obvious. We do have quite a lot of coastlines and sea in the EU, but we also have a lot of citizens, and we are quite hungry for seafood. So that's why we need to import a lot. And talking about the German market, our German market has around a supply of 2 million tons of seafood live weight or fresh weight, and that's around 16% of all what's happening in Europe. But that's including all imports and the exports, domestic within EU market imports. So the statistics are a little bit, it's worth to look a little bit more in detail in there. But the bigger picture is Germany is handling around 2 million tons of seafood produced every year. And the consumption in Germany is quite lower than the European average. We are down to something like 12.5, probably it's more like a 13 and a bit that German citizens consume per year. Just a little side fact, and I might come back to that in a minute, is the average consumer price for a seafood product in the year 2023 was €12.13 per kilogram of a product. That's product price, so specifically. So that's the full range of premium fish fillet down to a canned fish or a fish salad or something. Average price around €12 per kilogram. Mm-hmm. Next slide, please. And we in Germany, it's probably safe to say that we are not so super creative about what we eat in terms of seafood. We have 5 top species categories, and these 5 have not been changing a lot in the last decades. So top-notch number 1 is Alaska salmon, Atlantic salmon, and other salmonid species. And number 2 is Alaska pollock. That's the premium or the primary whitefish species. that you see in the German market. Number 3 is bonito and tuna species, but it's really a lot, mostly Catzebumus penamus, bonito. And then we have herring and the shrimps as a category group. And that's these 5 altogether make up at least some kind of an 80% of what household consumers consume in Germany. So these data are coming from the Fish Information Center in Germany, and these are polled from a 13,000 household panel consumer study that we are doing continuously, basically. So we have this running every month. So we evaluate every month what German households consume. 13,000 households report their information, and this is quite solid information. On the right-hand side, you also see quite solid and obviously also a special characteristic of the German market. In the pie chart there, around 90% of what households buy in Germany is coming from supermarkets and discounters. So primary place to buy fish in Germany is Lidl, Aldi, Edeka, Rewe, and the other big German retail outlets. This is a place to buy fish in Germany. Our traditional fishmongers, which you certainly still know quite well from other European countries, which have a lot more of an established culture in fishmonger shops, these are down to 4%. And this is also, I'm not going to go into that in much detail, but please realize that when we are talking about processed and packed products, and also products that are, I would say, part of a bigger shopping basket when you go shopping, this is Germany, and 90% of the consumption takes place in this context. So you buy fish by putting it into the shopping basket, and not by going to the harbor or to the fishermen or the fishmonger so very much. Next slide, please. I took the liberty to borrow this slide here from the latest Eurobarometer report on consumer habits. Very interesting piece of reading. I can only strongly suggest to look into that, because it's been showing quite nicely and thoroughly what people have been responding when they were asked. For example, here, this is one of the later questions in the questionnaire among all member states, and I don't know, some 2,500 or something people that were interrogated. What do you want to see front of pack? What do you want to know about the product that you buy? And so the rows of the graphics are the questions, and the top question is, I'm sorry, it's too small for me, I cannot read it, but I think
the species that the product contains.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So this is throughout all countries, the primary preferred information that consumers want to see. And the second one is, for example, the difference between, is it a wild caught species or one from farming? And interestingly, and I leave it up to the people of these nationalities to comment on that later on, France and Sweden are quite distinguished. They really want to know that. They really do want to know the difference between wild and aquaculture. We in Germany, that's the column that I highlighted in red, that's Germany. We are quite average on every score here. And the top ones, the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, I think it is, these are the ones that are around 50%. So half of the people wanted to know that. And then the white rows are, for example, sustainability information. They are plotting around somewhere in the 10s, 20s, and 30% of what people want to know. Some countries are a little bit more outstanding, for example, with expectations and information requests towards sustainability, like Denmark or the Scandinavians in general. But also, and I would just wanted to highlight that, Germany is also very average here. So we are down to a 29% what the people want to know sustainability, only 29%. Keep that in mind, because that's going to be interesting in my next slides.
Yes.
So Anne already referred what are the requirements for traceability in the supply chain, and she was referring to the Fisheries Control Regulation. And so to say the next step in the line of thought here would be the Common Market Organization. That's EU regulation with the number 1379 from 2013. This is pretty much overdue to be updated as well, and that's pretty much also a key element of the scope of the SEA2SEE project, and also the next policy cycle. I'm pretty sure it will be to talk about what do we need to put into the new updated Common Market Organization, CMO. As of today, where we stand today, we have there Article 35 that gives mandatory requirements for information that need to be given to consumers. For example, the species or the production method or the origin and the catch area. But, and that's a big but, this 35 only applies to Chapter 03 products of the combined nomenclature that Anne was also already explaining. So this is fresh, frozen, but it's also smoked fish and dried and salted and brined. Sometimes that's a little bit forgotten, but I'd like to remind everyone of that. So if you buy a fresh fillet of fish and you buy a frozen fillet of fish, or when you buy a smoked piece of salmon, or when you buy a brined or pickled or dried something else, this is Chapter 03, and that needs to give you the information that are given in Article 35. So you as a consumer have the right to know the species of what you have been buying. But it's not the case for the products that are in the Chapter 1604 and 1605. And that's the chapters where everything else basically is, or almost everything else is. So in 1604 and 1605, you find fish fingers. You find a canned tuna or sardines, or you find a seafood salad with more than 20% seafood components in there. So that's these two. And then we have also a lot of other seafood products that I would call seafood because they certainly have seafood listed in the list of ingredients. And they are certainly considered a seafood product because when you are, for example, allergic against seafood, you need to know that there's fish or crustaceans in this recipe. Just an example that maybe every one of you knows, a pizza tonno. A pizza with tuna on it is certainly not a 1604 product, but it still contains fish. And as a consumer, I'm pretty sure you want to know that there's fish on your pizza when you expect something else. Next slide, please. So I put that a little bit provoking. So we have label requirements and we have labeling realities. And in Germany, and I'm only talking about what we see here in Germany now, is since the year 2008. So that's give or take 5 years before the Common Market Organization 1379 came into place. Since 5 years before that, we started with a voluntary labeling scheme in Germany. Voluntarily, every producer, every brand, every retailer in Germany agreed to voluntarily indicate the catch area in a higher level of detail and the species name of the product, irrespective of what it is. If it's coming in a can, in a box, in a container, in a whatever, everyone said, yeah, we're going to put it on. We're going to describe, we're going to say what it is we have here. This has been the result of a very intense policy cycle with our stakeholders back in the days. That was way before my time. Back in 2008, I was still a student actually by the time. So that happened some years ago, and it's been an intense process where especially retail, which are quite strong, and also NGOs, German and also international NGOs, have been contributing intensely to find this as a bottom-up voluntary approach to the German seafood labeling. And since then, a couple of years later, Marine Stewardship Council really kicked off, and the other private labeling for certification kicked off as well. So we see them too. I took some figures here from a report that the Marine Stewardship Council and the Aquaculture Stewardship Council published 2 years ago. By their market analysis, only the two brands or the two certificates, MSC and ASC, make up around 64% of all products in the German market. So 2 out of 3 products in the German market, irrespective of what it is, as long as it contains fish, somehow fish, it will carry an MSC or an ASC logo. And this already for many, many years. And in the previous years, the figures were even higher. So we were more in the 70s. Yeah, that's a different presentation. Somebody from the MSC might want to give at another stage, but please bear in mind as well that for some product categories, for example, for salmon from Norway, GGN is currently much, much more bigger than ASC. And so the actual percentage of certified and labeled as certified seafood is even higher. Next slide, please. So I took the liberty to, I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but I took liberty to choose 3 products from 3 of my members. So this is A brand products, but you can find this as well for private label products in the German market. So this is a Schlemmer fillet, so that's a whitefish piece with a crusted baked top with vegetables on it, kind of a standard seafood product frozen in Germany from an A brand. But you find this also from private label producers. And the red circles show basically the answers to all of the top 7 questions that the EU consumers asked to the labeling. I want to know what species it is. It's written there. I want to know if it's from wild or if it's from farmed. It's there. I want to know what capture type or production method has been used. Aquaculture, fishing gear, blah, blah, blah. I want to know which country has been produced. EU identification sign 843, the little oval thing that is there. And I want to know if it's coming from a sustainable source. So that's the MSC logo, but also then the tracking code that leads you. In this case, it's Alaska pollock. Alaska pollock is coming from FAO 61 and 67. All the stocks of the 2 species are certified. And so that gives quite a level of detail. So this is for a frozen product. And the next slide, please. This is maybe a little bit of an outstanding example. The brand that I chose here, this is not advertisement here, but this is an A brand that decided right from the beginning, we want to give our consumers even more information, even more detailed information. So you have the same information that I just mentioned for the previous one. This is actually, by the way, a canned tuna in a carton box, a canned tuna. Katsumo's Pelamis. And this has a tracking code. And the tracking code leads you to a website where you can not only find what species it is and from which sea area it comes from, it shows you specifically the kind of fisheries it comes from, down to the port where the fish was landed, and also the list of the names of the boats that have been involved in the kind of fisheries, and also gives you a description of the fisheries and the impacts of the fisheries, including, for example, the carbon footprint and full life cycle assessment analysis of the product. So one could now say, okay, this is a brand, and this is so that's like a premium originary brand. They want to do that because they want to use this as a brand marketing. And I would say, yes, absolutely, they want that, and they are successful with this. So this is nice. But when we move, and this is, of course, a very pure fish product. So this is one of the most leading. This is tuna in a can. So this is the most renowned fish product that you can imagine. But let's move on to the next slide, please. I took the liberty here to take an unusual product. So this is wild salmon tagliatelle, frozen in a pack that you can put in your steering fan or in the micro oven and have a nice lunch or dinner with it. This is also an A brand product, and also one of the A brands that has a very clear statement on full traceability, everything. You need to know everything and no bullshitting, no additives, no preservatives in our products. And you are allowed as a consumer to know everything you want about every single ingredient in there. So here we are. This is a non-fisheries and aquaculture product. So this is a non-FAP. It's actually in the combined nomenclature. What did I write there? Somewhere in the chapter 19 or so. So in the pasta corner of things, in the pasta area. And because it contains only 14% of salmon, it's not a 1604. When it would have more than 20% of fish, then it would be a 1604 product. But it's mostly a pasta product with some salmon in it. That's why it's in chapter 19. So this is not at all covered by the Common Market Organization. Not at all. And all the labeling requirements here. So this is really out of scope, but still you find here the same things as I mentioned before, all of them, including the tracking code, including the carbon footprint, the CO2 equivalent footprint. And fun fact, and this is really just a fun marketing gag, you can find the name of the person who has been in charge of the production line on the day of the production of that product. I think the name was Florian. So Florian has been in charge of producing this very pack of tagliatelle on the day the production line was running. When you were visiting Bremerhaven the other week, this was the factory opposite side of the street where we've been visiting. So you might not have met Florian, but you probably see the picture here with what the factories look like. And this is on the website of the A brand, including the final retail price of the product, and with some recipes and some other marketing information that the brand wants to give. So this is certainly, I admit, a very extreme example, but this is not new. So we have had that for some decades now in Germany, that this kind of information can be found, are accessible, and are being used by consumers. So next step, slide, please. What we don't have in Germany, and that's why I can also not show pictures here, is we don't have the same for fishmongers. We don't have that for mostly the non-packed Chapter 03 products. We definitely have the legal requirements, and I'm 100% sure that all of the fishmongers do comply with the legal requirements. And I'm pretty much sure as well that some producers and some brands also make use of going the extra step. And this is in the Common Market Organization. This is Article 39. That's voluntary information that can be provided on products. But if you read Article 35 and Article 39 of the Common Market Organization, you won't find there the name of the guy in charge of the production line. And you won't find carbon footprint or life cycle assessment information, or the name of the port where the fish is landed and the kind of blah, blah, blah. See what I mean? So this is really beyond, and it's been a reality in Germany for some time. And then also the other big area that is completely out of scope is the Eureka sector. So hotels, restaurants, caterers, wherever you go to a place, take a seat, or we grab something to go. And why is that? Because these are also mostly considered 1604, 1605, or maybe 1903 products. Because when you go to a restaurant and then you order tagliatelle with salmon, or when you go to a restaurant and get a nicely fresh prepared seafood frutti di mare pizza, these are not falling under the scope of the right chapters in the CMO. And this is not new. People from the beginning, back in 2013, said, why is that? We need to have level playing field for all products across all points of sale across all of Europe. And I'm coming to my conclusion with the next slide, please. So, as I said, it's not new. Germany has been trying the things out with traceability for what did I say, 2008. So that's some good 16 years now or something. And or even more. And we still have that reality that, yes, I go to a German supermarket and get all the information I might want, and even more, on almost all the products that I buy in the supermarket, and I get still zero to nada niente of the extra information to other places, unless the person I visit, unless the shop owner, the chef in the restaurant decided to give me that. And still, remember the slide from the Eurobarometer, the Germans were not particularly outstanding in one way or the other. The Germans were not saying, I totally want to have all the sustainability information, even more than the Swedes or the French. And they were also not like, for example, a country like Czech Republic, also where sustainability scored some kind of a 17% of what the people wanted to know. It falls back. Sorry, I'm just taking this as a little excursion now. It falls back to the price. Germany is one of the really significant low price food, but also specifically seafood countries. It's very tough to get premium prices in Germany for food in general, because we have a very dense market here. But this is another topic and another presentation at another point, but it gives some part of the context. So what I really think is, for the crossroads, and I'm really curious, the impact the fisheries control regulation positively will have, and it will have a positive impact in my perception, is that traceability for processed products is a reality for us, and maybe in a positive way will also become one for other EU member states.
Are you here? Well, I guess we lost Stefan, but his presentation was really interesting and enlightening. I don't know about you, but I appreciate the fact all the visuals and the graphics were created with the support of ChatGPT. I like them, and the prompting appears to be very nice. Okay, so we're moving on to our next presenter. This is Gisela. She will present on views on incentives and barriers towards effective governance in seafood traceability.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Gisela. I'm a PhD student at University of Aveiro in Portugal, and I'm developing my thesis in the scope of the SEA2SEE project, focusing on seafood traceability, particularly in small-scale fisheries. And today I'm going to tell a bit about views on incentives and barriers towards effective governance in seafood traceability. So next slide, please. So just to give a very quick overview of the SEA2SEE project, the main aim is to develop a blockchain tool and applications to increase trust and social acceptance of sustainably fished and farmed seafood. So we, University of Aveiro, so me and my supervisor, Dr. Cristina Pito, which I think is also present here in the webinar, we are leading this work package 1. Focusing on stakeholder engagement and trying to identify incentives and barriers to traceability in the seafood sector. And we started by doing a systematic review of the literature. Now we are focusing on interviews with experts to do that same identification. And in the future, we will be doing an in-depth analysis of demonstration sites of the SEA2SEE project, which are 3 aquacultures in Greece, in Portugal, and in Spain, 1 small-scale fishery of octopus in Portugal, and a case of import canned tuna from South America. Next slide, please. So just wanted to quickly show you some of the results from the literature review. These are not yet published, but hopefully will be this year. These are the challenges that have been identified in literature for both fisheries and aquaculture. So this is just to show you the variety of themes that were identified, so much so that we actually group them in different categories, as you can see: technological, social, economic, governance, and environmental. Next slide. And the same for opportunities. These are challenges and opportunities of implementing digital traceability in the seafood sector in general. Next slide. So my point today is not to focus so much on those results from the literature review, because that would be no time for that, I think. But I want to bring you more recent results from interviews with experts from the different seafood sectors and experts dealing with traceability that I've been doing the past 2 months. I actually finished these interviews 2 weeks ago, so these are very recent and preliminary results, meaning that it's very likely that some of these results might change in the future as I go into more details, looking at the transcripts of the interviews. So have that in mind when looking at these results. But in total, I did 42 interviews. The mean of experience of these experts working with seafood was almost 18 years, which is quite relevant, and 10.5 years of experience with traceability. Most of the experts have had a direct contact with traceability systems. And you can see in the map that most of them are based and working in Europe, but it was possible to have insights from experts all over the world, which is very interesting as well to include in this analysis. You can also see that 36% of these experts are working in non-profit organizations, 19 in consulting, 17 in the seafood industry, for example, processing and transformation, 12% working with technological providers for bringing up solutions for traceability. Some are researchers, 10%, 5% from fisheries, and 2% from administration. Next slide. Yeah. So I brought to you some of these preliminary results. I forgot to mention these interviews are focused in the fisheries sector, contrary to the literature review, which was focusing on fisheries and aquaculture. This is just focused on fisheries. And I brought to you the top 5 answers for some of the most interesting questions in the questionnaire. You can see here, for example, the traceability drivers that were mentioned by experts have to do with legal requirements, with many experts acknowledging the upcoming EU regulations, but also in other countries such as the US with the FISMA regulation, for example. Also consumer expectations, with consumers being more aware of sustainability regards and also wanting to know more about the origin of seafood. Sustainability considerations in general, market accessibility, which has a lot to do with meeting these new legal requirements, reputation and reputational risk management. This is mostly for seafood industries, and it has a lot to do with not only managing the corporate social responsibility image of companies, but also trying to manage any seafood safety risks that eventually can come up. Looking at the preferable methods or technologies for digital traceability, we have QR codes, with experts saying it's a very easy way to have information available. The same for mobile apps, with nowadays everyone having a smartphone. Blockchain, which is more connected with data security and transparency. Some experts said that any digital method could eventually work, depending on the case, and some experts stressed the importance of having an interoperable systems, so having systems that have the ability to communicate and to exchange data in the same kind of data throughout supply chains. Next slide, please. Now looking a little bit at the traceability challenges in fisheries in general, we have interest in maintaining opacity of business information, which can be for several reasons, either because you want to keep some information of your business private to have a competitive advantage. Fishers, for example, want to have fishing grounds many times private as well, but they wouldn't mind, for example, having aggregated data. But it can be for other reasons, more, let's say, negative reasons, like you would benefit from having any fraudulent operation going on in your company. Another challenge would be financial costs of traceability, either with technology, infrastructure, or human resources. Again, the interoperability challenges, supply chain complexity. So seafood supply chains are quite complex because many times they're international and many times involve many stakeholders or supply chain actors. And the lack of incentives, so really the lack of people understanding why it is important to do traceability. Focusing more on small-scale fisheries, the main challenges mentioned have to do with accurate data collection, which not only can relate with having human error when inputting information, but mostly it relates with the informality of the sector. So everything being very informal, not really capturing that data, not really collecting that data with sales and first sales, for example. Financial costs, once again, insufficient infrastructure and technological resources, digital literacy gaps, which in fisheries have many times to do with generational, with older generations not being so familiarized with technology, and operational complexity, which is related with fisheries many times not being able to having a wide variety of landed species or landed quantity throughout the years and throughout seasons, making it very difficult to meet supply demands, and logistically difficult to keep some landings, some kind of landings separated from others throughout the supply chain without mixing different seafood products. Challenges of the new EU regulations. Experts mentioned, again, interoperability between different technological systems, burden especially for small-scale fisheries and small businesses, which often lack more human and financial resources. Financial costs, once again, the time required for regulatory adaptation and combating legal and unreported sales. Also, the challenges of entering the EU market. Reasons mentioned were compliance with legal requirements, which is a quite broad answer, I would say, but others help explain this, I think. So challenges in standardizing rules, information and enforcement, limited digital infrastructure and high costs related with that. Again, interoperability, and again, operational complexity. Next slide, please. And to end on a more positive note, some of the solutions, some ways to overcome the challenges that were mentioned have to do a lot with increased government support, so funding, training, infrastructure, ensuring that interoperability, promoting more participatory approaches and collaboration between different stakeholders, providing educational sessions and training not only related with using technological tools, but also with traceability in general and understanding its importance and possible benefits, financial incentives and fair compensation for fisheries. And to end traceability opportunities or benefits, we help market expansion and positioning, enhance transparency and fraud prevention, increased value of fishery products, which have a lot to do with market expansion, improved fisheries management with having more data available, and having better, more consumer trust on fisheries products. So thank you for your attention. If you want to ask any questions now or later, you can contact us.
Thank you very much, Gisela. I think it should be better to for people, if they feel that they would forget their questions, just place them in the Q&A chat box. If not, when we open the Q&A session, you can ask your question. Let's move on to our last speaker, José Bento, who, as far as I know, doesn't have a presentation, so I will stop sharing. And I'm giving the floor to him to make us aware of the small-scale fisheries and the upcoming traceability challenge, the view of a fisherman.
Hello, Anna. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Speaking from the point of view of a small-scale fisherman, what we see, well, first of all, we welcome all traceability and all sustainability new measures. But from our point of view, there are the new regulations will bring a new economic and operational burden that we are not sure that can be reflected in terms of marketing, in terms of differentiation when you compare this with imported products. So and speaking from the fisherman point of view, there is a specific challenge, which is the compliance with the new logbook fishery that has to be submitted, and that creates a huge challenge because most fishermen do not have a basic educational background that will allow them to easily operate these new tools. So having this electronic new system will be a very big challenge for the small scales fisheries. Also, all this information that will be required is very much positive and very much welcome, but we also believe that there should be a lot more of education given to the end consumer, so that the end consumer will be able to make a clear differentiation between a product caught in the European Union and the product that was imported. And why this is important for us, it is because when you import a product, fishery product into the European Union, you are mostly required to present a catch certificate. And from our point of view, we do know that fishery products coming from third countries outside of the European Union do not have to comply with the same regulations as the products that are caught in the European Union, and that creates a problem, and that makes us force us to be present in a market that is not a level playing field. And so we would like to see a much better communication and transparency that will clearly show the end consumer what is a EU-caught product and what isn't a EU-caught product. Obviously, fishery products coming from countries outside of the European Union, when you're speaking, for example, about Australia or Canada or South Africa, we know that those countries are reliable in terms of the information and in terms of the catch certificates that they do provide. But
Yes.
again, when you're speaking about other countries, countries in Southeast Asia, countries in Africa, we all know that sadly the information in those catch certificates can be manipulated, and that creates an additional problem because it creates a situation in which the fair marketing of the product may not be present. So what we would like to know is if there is any if there are anything is prepared to guarantee and to educate the end consumer and clearly show the end consumer the differences between products caught by the European Union vessels in European Union waters and products that come from the outside. So and basically, other than the operational challenges that the fishery has, that small scale fisheries may face with these new regulations, and again, speaking about electronic logbooks, it's not clear how that will happen at this stage. Other than that, it's really the importance of having a clear distinction between what is an EU-caught product and an outside EU-caught product. That really is important, and we would like to see this more clear.
Thank you very much. In itself, this is like a batch of lots of questions, especially when it comes to creating the regulations and the requirements for that. Thank you to all our speakers. All the presentations were interesting, and I think they covered different viewpoints and angles from the field. I would like to open the Q&A discussion time now. In our chat, we already have some questions posted, but also in the Q&A section box. So I will read the first one from Hélène Buson. Could you give examples of mobile apps that are used for traceability? Thank you.
I can
yes.
give some examples that I'm trying to remember from my research, if it helps, and I can give you the links in the chat maybe if you want to know more about them. And of course, there's the app that SEA2SEE is developing, but you already have Abelobi from South Africa with a very extensive with a lot of extensive work on this, which they have an application and they have a lot of insights on data ownership with that. I think it's very interesting to explore their resources. You have TreZap, which is from Peru. WWF Peru is developing this. And it's also a mobile application with a lot of information for fisheries management as well. This fish, which I'm not sure where this fish application and the Tally digital platform, which is about data collection, is from. I don't remember, but I can give you the resources to know more about this. And I'm not remembering anymore right now. I don't know if anyone remembers other applications.
We are also working on developing an app within SEA2SEE project. So soon, just stay tuned, because once it's ready, we will start advertising it, because we have the ambition to actually make it work for the entire seafood value chain, to include short and long value chains. Yes, Anne, please.
I just want to mention, and I will try to find the link to the.
We can't hear you
Sorry,
very well.
we can now. It's better.
Yes,
sorry,
yes.
it's better. I
Yes.
put my headphone in a bad position. So
Yes.
in 2020, in 2019, we organized a workshop on traceability in the Commission. So and we have had some presentation from different type of traceability methodology, and the conclusion was that actually there was quite a lot of apps on the market, maybe not all strictly applying to fish, which and I'm speaking also fresh fish here. It's also has its own challenges. But there are apps on the market. I know also that because or not of the new traceability rules, I want to believe that it's kind of moving it. There are development of apps on the market. I know that in some countries, some producer organization or associations, they are also keen to develop app for their members. So there are apps on the market.
Yes, thank you very much. There is here also a comment from Lori to Anne that she wanted to know if there could be a possibility to include traceability information to know where the feed of aquaculture products comes from, both EU production and import. And if you want to address it publicly, but you provided already an answer that there's no such requirement.
No, as Laure say, I think Laure, you already asked this question in another meeting, but no, there are no requirement about the for aquaculture product, for example, for salmon, how the salmon are fed. I know I suppose what you want to get in. It's the sustainability of the aquaculture. This aquaculture production also, and so, but that's not a point that we have in the fishery control regulation. I'm sure that will come into the discussion when and the CMO regulation will be revised. Is the sustainability criteria. My colleague in DG Marie 4 are also trying to address this sustainability criteria for marketing of seafood. But no, in the fishery control regulation itself, there is not such requirement.
Yes. Thank you very much. There was a question that was posed preliminary during the registration for the webinar from one of our attendees, and I would like to also read that one. A major effort will have to be made on the implementation and enforcement measures of the new regulation. How is this foreseen to be pursued, and who is responsible for carrying out the enforcement?
Implementation is for the operator, obviously, because this requirement are applied to the seafood product, and so the operator that are trading this seafood product. So implementation is for the operator, and member states have a competent authority in the EU. They are responsible for also making sure that the information to operators is provided. They are responsible for controlling that the rules are well implemented. And we are Commission. We are the one that look at I will say the level playing field, that member states are equally implementing and controlling and enforcing the EU rules. So we have the powers to do audit, type of audit, verification mission, or even ad hoc inspection if we want on certain case, but that's really extreme case. And if we found non-compliance with the rules, a member state don't comply with the rules, don't ensure the correct implementation and enforcement, we have not in the only in DG Mare, but the possibility to start what we say it's infringement procedure with member state or IU pilot, different type of kind of inquiries to member state, and that could, if everything goes wrong, or for the member state, go to even fine. So an obligation for the member state to address the problem and to also pay some fine to the EU. But okay, I think yes, this is really we know that there are challenges, and I wanted to take the opportunity to thank José for his talk, because I think you had some question on the electronic logbook. That's the object of this workshop today, but obviously for small scale fishery all over Europe, not only in Portugal, there are challenges ahead, new things, and they were not covered by the by the scope of the fishery control regulation, or not as much as it will be now. And so of course there is these new things, a new requirement for this fleet segment, and also the jump to the digital, from paper to digital. So it's a major jump. We are conscious of that. And we now with the legislation have been adopted, we see that still there are some challenges with specifically the date of application on some of the provision. But yes, I think it's really something that we are well aware of. I can't tell you now how we would address that, but we are very conscious that for small scale fishery, it's a challenge, this logbook, but there are also opportunities, and I know member states are developing really a solution. But for the traceability, also for small scale operators, it's also challenged, the jump to the digital, because it was paper and now it's digital. There is, I think, a lot of fears also, which probably could be, hopefully will be, will disappear if we have more communication, and if we have easy tools developed and used. But still, it's a challenge, and for sure the deadline of January 2026, we understood that from different information we gather from operator, that is a challenge for the small scale fleet in particular, because it's many instances a fleet that deals with fresh product. So this is difficult.
Yes, if I may add something, Anna, may I?
Of course, José, go ahead.
Okay. Well, so first, Anna, thank you very much for your reply on this. And let me just add that currently I'm working with the processing industry, and we do operate very closely with 28 very small fishing vessels, small scale fishing vessels. And when I'm saying small, I'm saying from 5 to 7 meters. So it's really, really small. So the challenges with this type of fishing boats is that they don't even have electrical power on board. So they don't have the means of having electronic equipment on board. So that creates a very big challenge. How will they be able to comply with an electronic logbook. Anyway, but that will be fixed. A solution will be found. There's no way around that. And while we welcome and think that it's very important to implement this level of transparency, our main concern is that will the market value this? This is our main concern because, and let me be here a bit more specific. Talking about octopus, and we are talking about vessels that fish for octopus on the Portuguese coast. We comply with all these regulations, which we are in favor, which I think are very much positive. But we also believe that the end consumer needs to be educated in order to really appreciate, understand, and value all this information that will be given. But on the other hand, we know that we have to face imports coming from third countries, and I can give you examples like Morocco and Mauritania, in which the catch certificates that will be supplied to the EU authorities, to the customs, will not be as strict as ours. And at the supermarket, when the end consumer has to choose, am I buying this octopus or am I buying that octopus, there is no information, no relevant information that clearly shows the difference in terms of management, in terms of sustainability, in terms of transparency. So the market, if the market is not aware of that, the market will not be able to make a clear distinction. And that is our main concern. We would like to see that the fishery that really complies and that really is making effort to provide information on sustainability, that fishery should somehow be regarded as different when compared to the others that don't do this. And this is our main concern.
If I may say, this is an interesting concern because then it is actually maybe user-centric. And this very much supports what you're saying, that when we are increasing the literacy and the awareness and education of people, maybe they would start appreciating more when something is a certified product and sustainable, how it was caught, and all that. And I think this, in a way, also addressed the question that we had to understand better the new vessel tracking requirements for vessels below 12 meters. Maybe this also has to do with what you just mentioned. If you allow me to pose also another question, how can we overcome the current post-production value chain barrier to implementing traceability measures, given that since it's not yet mandatory, we are still dependent on partner acceptance and voluntary collaboration to move forward with such initiatives? I don't know who feels most confident answering this question. It could even be Stefan sharing some experience from Germany, where for at least packaged products, already there is something that is a voluntary-based action. Or Anne, I don't know.
I don't know if Stefan want to. I dare to say something. I think it's of course. I think the importance is to have transparency, because if you don't have the transparency, then of course I don't know what value you can put on the information, that the few information that you have. I see the point of José. And I think this question will have to be dealt with in when the consumer information article will be revised will have to be revised in the CMO regulation. I mean, we have now requesting more information for traceability of seafood products within the fishery control regulation, but then the consumer information labeling, the mandatory information, is not adequate. We don't have the same number of products there. So I mean, somehow we are collecting this information, because there was a question on that. We are from Carlos. We are collecting the information also for purpose, so for facilitating the control within the supply chain. But we are also doing that to ultimately be able for the last operator in the chain to deliver the consumer information to the consumer. So I think there's a need to be a much matching between the regulation in future, and then we will probably, if it's much advanced on consumer information, maybe in 10 years we will have to revise, somehow the traceability information to have this information collect, and so it's a kind of like in one way and the other way all the time in regulation. But I think it's difficult to it's really difficult if you don't have the information for the consumer, as a consumer, to know really what you eat or what you buy. I mean, so I would like, when I am in Oyao or Tarivira, to know if that the octopus come from the Portuguese small fleet that is fishing in Portugal, and rather to know if the octopus they serve me, it's some octopus from Morocco. I would like to know it, but I'm not really able to know it. I have been asking sometime in restaurant in the Algarve, but I didn't get really an answer, I have to say.
At least not a definite one. Okay, thank you. There is one more question, and I think maybe this would be the last one. There are also food safety. It's coming from Enrique. There are also food safety concerns that must be considered. For instance, in the Canary Islands, local fishers are required to apply strict cichlidotoxin control protocols for certain commercially important species, whereas similar products can be imported from third countries under much more lenient regulations. How does the EU traceability regulation take into account the specificities of the outermost regions, particularly regarding small-scale fisheries? Are there EU initiatives to limit imports in cases where third country products do not meet the same food safety and traceability requirements imposed on EU producers? And how can the EU, so these are three questions, how can the EU ensure that imported products adhere to the same strict protocols applied to European fishers, especially in cases like cichlidotoxin controls? I'm not sure I'm reading correctly this toxin, but I hope you understood the question, the three questions.
I understood it because I'm a vet by education, so I understand it. But I mean, I'm not responsible. I mean, I actually what I presented, it was the traceability in the fishery control regulation. So, and that come without prejudice of the general hygiene and food safety rules traceability. I know that there are still a lot of question about the two set of rules and where they fit really together. And we have tried with the revised regulation to try to address the gaps and try to make sure that we are not duplicating rules. So all these food safety requirements are dealt with another directorate in the Commission. So it's the DG Santé, Directorate General from Santé. So there are controls also for import for food safety requirement. There are equivalents when their country is requesting to import to the EU. So But I mean, the specific question on this on Ciguatera, and I think I should be addressed to DG Santé. I can give the contact maybe of the colleague, and also you can address the question to the I don't know from it came from Portugal or the person is from Italy, from Spain or Portugal, but you should address this question also to your competent authority in your country, because they are the one that can help you to have an answer there.
Yes, thank you very much. I guess maybe this also is in sync with what Carlos I saw also posted in the comment section. What are we trying to achieve? Keep the consumer an informed decision maker, which then will prevail the consumer queries. Secure food safety across the value chain. Then we focus on health and food safety criteria, or gain control on seafood resource sustainability, which is fisheries science. All of the above together, on in what order of priority? I think, Anne, you already mentioned that we are not about food security and safety per se. Of course, they are connected, but it would be nice if with further communication and transparency on what is forthcoming, we can get the answers to all these questions and how we can prioritize. Would you like to make some final comments to our presenters, with which after that I would like to close the webinar? No?
Sorry.
Okay. So then in this case, thank you very much for joining the webinar.
Just please share all the presentation and the videos, please.
Yes, after we finish, the recording of the video will be uploaded to SEA2SEE's YouTube channel. All participants who attended and who registered for the webinar will receive that recording. So you will be able also to see the presentations there. And in case there are any unanswered questions, please feel free to send them to SEA2SEE contact email, or if you're a member of the cluster, we can share it among us directly, because we would like to follow through and follow up with these questions. And again, thanks for participating. Thanks for the insightful and enlightening presentations, also for the questions that were absolutely valuable and relevant. And hopefully we meet again with some progress and some new solutions that are made towards more transparency and seafood traceability and trust. Thanks again. Have a good day.
Thank
Very
you.
much.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
day.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a great day.